Having heard Dr. Sengupta and Mr. Girish Kaithan very carefully, I realize that those who are graduating today are truly honored to graduate from an institution which has 75 courses. And more importantly, the critical piece which I was very impressed with when I heard was that they are preparing you to be good citizens. And that, I think, is an element which is missing. And if I were to put the clock of life back, honestly, I wish I were a graduate of the Calcutta Business School. I am as you would have known, an accountant. And accountants tend to be introverts. They tend to be number crunchers. They tend to be, as some people believe, inward-looking. And the real missing piece, and we accountants always struggle, is how do we convert an accountant to a true leader and a business person. And if we have institutions like this to partner with the accounting profession, and I'm sure the accounting profession itself will go a long distance. Now, to you graduating students, I know it's a proud moment that you have graduated from an institution like the Calcutta Business School. I also, but as was mentioned by Mr. Kaithan and also Dr. Sengupta, learning doesn't stop with this event. The graduation certificates which you have received are just passports into the commercial or the real world. And as rightly mentioned, there is and continues to be a disconnect between the real world and the academic world. And I'm glad institutions like this are trying to bridge that gap. And particularly, I was impressed by this initiative of partnering with industry. Because I have seen in my own case, when I go back to the institution where I graduated from, there's a complete disconnect with the real world. I'm sorry to say the professors in those institutions where I graduated from are completely out of sync with the real world. It's also a challenge even for us. People in various levels of organization, unless they have those qualities, they are also out of sync with the real world. And that is what I would say is where learning doesn't end with this certificate. It was Alvin Toffler who said that the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who cannot read or write, are those who are not willing to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I think every day, as I even speak with you and interact and watch, I'm learning. As I go this afternoon and speak at a conference, it is not that I'm conveying knowledge, I'm learning. And that is where, when we look at the landscape around, as you leave this institution, you continue no doubt to be part of the CDS family. But as you leave this institution and go into the outside world, what is that outside world like? Today, we have significant trust deficit. We have a morality deficit. We have a commitment deficit. We have bankruptcy in leadership. Take our own country. We have 17% of the world's population, but we have less than 5% of the world's natural resources. It's a huge challenge. When I was at the World Economic Forum and there was this discussion around what should India do? And it's really scary. When you look at 1.2 billion people, and you also look at the fact that we will have the world's largest workforce. We have the advantage, if I may say, of the demographic profile being a nation with the youngest average population. We will have 400 to 500 million working age people. They need to be deployed. The single biggest challenge for us is employment. The single biggest challenge for us is how to transform this asset, which we claim as the largest workforce, into producing goods and services to lead our country to be premier economies of the world. Now, just by way of numbers, we would need to create 100 million jobs in the next 3 years. We will need to create at least 2 million jobs each month for us to even bring this. And that is a huge challenge. Now, when you look at yourselves as graduating students, and when you get into the outside world, what are those critical elements which are required? I would say the first, and I know I'm carrying coal to Newcastle because you have such eminent faculty who may have told you time and again on what you need to do once you leave this institution. But nevertheless, I will just first classify them into perhaps 6 different components. The first of it, clearly you need technical skills. And those technical skills needs to be constantly upgraded. And I'm sure an institution like this has already provided you the technical skills to adapt yourself to the outside world. But the experience which we face in the commercial world, including our organization when we take people on board, and that is true for most organizations, it takes a number of months for a person to be deployed into actual work which is revenue generating, if I may use that term. I was at a meeting of our Bombay Chamber of Commerce. We were discussing skill development. One of the persons said he was putting up a factory in Aurangabad. He needed 200 people. He went to all the technical institutes around in Maharashtra. He interviewed hundreds, could get only 10. And that was a very valid point which was made about education. Again, you need to be employable. You need to have the relevant skill set. So the first is technical knowledge, and that's a constant updation which is required. I do realize there will still be some organizations which will require outdated knowledge because they use outdated processes. But if you have to survive in this world, it is continuous learning. And the second is technology skills. Do not ignore technology. When you look at the world around and or go back and say, what was the world 10 years ago? 15 years ago? Did you ever expect when somebody told you that your maid or driver will have, you can reach them, they'll have mobiles. Today they not only have mobiles, they have mobiles with 2 SIM cards. You'll be amazed with the ringtones there and the uses they could do. But the point I'm making on technology is if you are not technology literate, you will be in the Jurassic Park of professionals, for sure. You will be fossilized. Again, just to give you an illustration, we were having a program in Istanbul where we had the world's bankers present. The top bankers of the world. Named the bank, their CEO, the CMD was present. And the topics which came up was the impact of technology on the industry. Universally, every bank leader said they would be reducing the number of bank branches, which is a reality. Do we go to a bank branch? We don't go to a bank branch. It's been years since I went to the bank where I have an account. I don't need to go. If I need to withdraw cash, I go to an ATM, I do net banking, checkbook comes, if at all I need a checkbook, I don't even know who serves. So there was a talk of whether there will be a virtual bank. That means you don't see an office of a bank at all. If you're not going to a bank, what do you need? Increasingly they felt that the world is not yet ready for a virtual bank. But the fact is, physical locations, your need for being at a particular place and working out of a particular place will dramatically change. And one of the bankers said that we still believe customers would like to draw comfort from the fact that there exists a bank. So we will at least have some ATMs, so when he drives past, he will see an ATM of say Citibank and get that comfort. But maybe a day will come, you don't need an ATM of Citibank logo at all, because you can withdraw any card you can use in any ATM. Why do you need it? You'll have a universal ATM. So even that identity is lost. There was talk about mobile wallets which you use, where your mobile phone is everything. But the point I was trying to make is that technology will lead to demise of certain services in certain professions. A classic example is a travel agent. You imagine if you had a course which taught you the skills of a travel agent. Irrelevant. Gone are the days when ticketing used to be written by hand. Gone are the days where the travel agent was the only intermediary through which you could buy tickets. Today you don't need to. When you buy tickets, you go on the net, you do it. You don't even need a printout. Now even, thankfully, the airport security accepts soft copies of it. You don't need anything. So that profession is disappearing. You have to find something different. And I can name a number of these professions which are becoming extinct, or services which will become extinct. Therefore, the point I'm trying to make is, while you have acquired these skill sets, you need to constantly evaluate this change which is happening around, particularly the impact of technology, and see which are those services which will become extinct, which are those services which will be sunrise services, and work towards moving into those areas of services and acquiring contemporary skill sets in those areas. The third quality, in addition to technical qualities, shall I say technological qualities, is clearly you need to have leadership qualities. We really have a bankruptcy of leadership. The successful organizations are ones which have a true leader. And leadership is not about position. It's got nothing to do with position. Positions are titles. Unfortunately, a lot of people confuse leadership with positions, and therefore students tend to confuse jobs and careers. And I found that the people who have unsuccessful are people who had this confusion. They had a very good title, a very good job. But the day that they lost that job or lost that title, they were not employable because they did not have the leadership skills. They did not make this distinction between a job and a career. I'm sure when you go out, you'll also see who gives me the best job. It is not about the best job. It's not about the most high-paying job. It's about a career as to what you want to do and what is your goal and work towards it. And the fourth quality, which is part of this leadership qualities, is I think commitment is required. As individuals, you need to have commitment. There's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in something, you will do it when you find the time to do it for it. You're interested in music, you'll listen to it when you have the time. But when you're committed to something, you will accept nothing short of true results from it. You will find the time for that. And I think what we really find when I talk of bankruptcy or deficit of commitment, today in the real world, we find that commitment is lacking. There seems to be the confusion with money, and therefore we find people join organizations, there's a very high attrition rate. We're all struggling with an attrition rate. Even recently, Infosys announced its results, and if you see, it has an average attrition rate of 15%. Now, 15% is a high attrition rate. What does it signify? It signifies that either there's a problem with the organization or problem with the culture. I heard one great leader who said, typically organizations go through 3 phases. They go through the first phase where they develop physical infrastructure. You will see all of this, new buildings, everything. The second phase they go through is the knowledge infrastructure, where they have knowledge and all skilled people, all of it. But the third phase, which is the most important phase, is the emotional infrastructure, which is binding people together, which is creating those values. And I find even in our own organization, we may be the largest in the world or the second largest in the world. Our single biggest problem is, how do you have a unique culture? A culture is the software of an organization. It brings the best out of the hardware of the organization. And that is a critical value which only you can adapt to yourself. CBS has taught you certain things, but when you go into the outside world, that's a completely different world, where you will be faced with opportunities. Grass on the other side will look green. You need to have that culture. And you will find that differences between 2 organizations, the clear difference, both in the same industry, is a difference of culture. One may be laid back, one may be aggressive, one may be ethical, one may be non-ethical. And I think this is a critical element in acquiring. But the fourth quality, I think, which I can go The single biggest challenge which I have, including our profession, is everybody expects that there should be a shower of opportunities at a place where they are. Not realizing that if you are in the Sahara Desert, however much you pray, you can't get rain. You need to, if you want to see rainfall, you need to go to a place where there will be rainfall. If you want to experience snow, you need to go to a place where there will be snow. Similarly for you, whatever skill sets you may have, if you want that experience, you need to be mobile. You need to go and seek opportunities in places where those opportunities are available. And those are shifting sands. Economies which were leading economies of the past are not the leading economies of today. States which were leading states of the past are not leading states of today. So if you say, this is my world and I want opportunities in this world, it is not so. Imagine if somebody is in a place like, example, Rajahmundry or Visakhapatnam and says, I want experience in financial services. Where is financial services? All banks are headquartered in Bombay. The largest of the ones are there. So if you want that, you need to go there. And that is a single point which I would continue to emphasize, is you need to be mobile, and that mobility has to be constant. If you are immobile, your career will be as much immobile as you are physically immobile. And that's a very important aspect which I know. Two other important things which we must remember in this world. And I'm glad one of the things which is addressing this whole issue of trust deficit and morality deficit is the, shall I say, media activism, regulatory activism, or judicial activism which is happening. Any transformation requires four elements. First is awareness. You need to know what is right, what is wrong, what is required. You need to know where you are, where you want to go. If you don't have that awareness, you will be, again, as I said, left behind. The second is intent. You may be aware, a lot of us are aware, we've been taught. But if you don't have that fire in your belly, if you don't have that passion, you don't have that desire, you will again be where you are. The third, you may have an awareness, you may have intent, but you need to have a strategy and action plan to do this. And fourth, you could have all of this, and if you don't have action, people mistake activity and action. And I think really it's about implementing all of this. And these four elements are constantly you need to evaluate. Am I aware of what's happening around? Do I have the right skill sets? Am I in the right place? Do I need to do anything more? Then the question of intention, strategy, and implementation comes. Now, as you graduate and get into this world, and I said you need to build your career, so whatever the tasks are, whatever you do, it is important that you leave a significant footprint in the world in which you are. No use being a chartered accountant or a doctor, or lawyer, or a management graduate, unless you've left that footprint. Mediocrity breeds mediocrity. You should be known as an individual. You should give back to society what you get from society. That is exactly what Jamshedji taught us, that we need to give back to society what we get. Similarly, for you professionals, as management graduates, you need to constantly give back to society, contribute to that society. You also need to leave that significant footprint. And lastly, as I would say, there are two things which are relevant for every compass: knowledge and reputation. Knowledge can become outdated, but reputation, once tarnished, it's extremely difficult to get it back. And that is why I was very impressed with this emphasis on ethical values. At the end of the day, you've spent 20 years of your life, one slip, one ethical misdemeanor, your reputation is in dust. Nobody will touch you if you have a bad reputation. Remember, it's not about degrees or qualification. It's about having that reputation. Once you have that reputation, nobody will ask you what's your qualification. You are known for it, and you will be the most sought after. That will enable you to leave that significant footprint. To you graduating students, you've had a great beginning. a great foundation. And my best wishes to you for success, and I'm sure you will leave an imprint in this world which will reflect what Calcutta Business School stood for and work towards inculcating you. Thank you very much.